Picture this, a 7-year-old boy, abandoned at a brutal opera school in Hong Kong, training 19 hours a day. Kicked, beaten, stretched until his body screams. No days off, no childhood, just pain. Fast forward decades later, and that same boy would become one of the most beloved action stars on the planet, revolutionizing cinema with his signature blend of comedy and death-defying stunts. But Jackie Chan's journey wasn't about talent. It was about something far more powerful, the refusal to stay down when life knocked him flat. Jackie Chan was born Chan Kong-sang in 1954 to parents so poor they almost sold him to pay the hospital bill. His father was a cook, his mother a housekeeper, and young Jackie was, well, he was failing at school, failing to sit still, failing to fit in anywhere, so his parents made a desperate choice. They enrolled him in the China Drama Academy, a Peking opera school that makes military boot camp look like summer vacation. Master Yu Jimuan ran it like a prison. Students trained from 5 in the morning until midnight. They learned acrobatics by being thrown through the air. They learned discipline through bamboo canes across their backs. Jackie would later say he was hit so many times, he lost count. But here's where the story gets interesting. While other kids broke under the pressure, Jackie discovered something inside himself. Not talent, he wasn't the most naturally gifted student. Not intelligence, he readily admits he wasn't the smartest. What he found was stubbornness, an almost insane refusal to quit. When he couldn't nail a flip, he'd practice until his hands bled. When a routine seemed impossible, he'd attempt it 100 times more. The other students would finish training and collapse. Jackie would stay up, perfecting one more move, attempting one more impossible leap. Years passed. Jackie joined a performance troupe called the Seven Little Fortunes, but by his late teens, Peking opera was dying. No one wanted to watch it anymore. Everything he'd sacrificed for, everything he'd endured suddenly worthless, so he became a stuntman. Started at the absolute bottom, getting thrown through windows and dragged behind cars for a few dollars a day. He watched Bruce Lee conquer the world with martial arts films and thought, maybe I can do that too. But here's the brutal truth. Jackie Chan failed hard. His first films as a leading man bombed. Studios tried to make him the next Bruce Lee, but audiences weren't buying it. He was too goofy, not intimidating enough, not cool enough. For someone who'd sacrificed his entire childhood to master his craft, the rejection was devastating. Most people would have quit, found a regular job, accepted that dreams don't always work out. Jackie Chan asked a different question. What if I stopped trying to be Bruce Lee and start being myself? He took everything that made him wrong, his comedic timing, his willingness to look foolish, his acrobatic background, and weaponized it. He started doing stunts that were so dangerous, so insane, that cameras had to keep rolling because they'd never be able to do a second take. He fell from a clock tower and broke his nose. He slid down a pole covered in lights and burned his hands. He jumped from a rooftop to a building, missed, and cracked his skull open. They had to plug the hole in his head with a piece of plastic that is still there today, and every single time, Jackie got back up. Police Story, Project A Drunken Master, film after film, Jackie redefined what action cinema could be. He wasn't just fighting, he was dancing, flying, making audiences laugh and gasp in the same breath. He did everything himself, no stunt doubles, no green screens. Just a man, a camera, and an absolute refusal to accept limitations. By the time Hollywood came calling, Jackie Chan had already broken almost every bone in his body. He dislocated his pelvis, shattered his ankle, fractured his skull, and broken his nose so many times it had to be reconstructed. His stunt team called themselves the Jackie Chan Stunt Team, and their unofficial motto was simple: survive. But he'd also done something no one thought possible. He'd conquered Asia, and eventually, with Rush Hour and other Hollywood films, he'd conquer the world. Today, Jackie Chan is over 70 years old, and he can barely move without pain. Every step reminds him of a stunt gone wrong, a bone that didn't quite heal right, a sacrifice made for his art, and here's what he says about it: he'd do it all again. Because Jackie Chan's story isn't really about kung fu or movies or fame. It's about what happens when you take everything life throws at you: poverty, pain, failure, rejection, and refuse to let it define you. That 7-year-old boy who got beaten every day at opera school. He could have become bitter, could have given up, could have accepted that life had dealt him a losing hand. Instead, he turned his pain into art, his failures into fuel, his limitations into a unique style that no one else could replicate. So whatever mountain you're facing right now, whatever obstacle seems impossible to overcome, remember Jackie Chan. Remember that success isn't about being the most talented, or the smartest, or the luckiest. It's about being the one who gets hit, bleeds, fails, and still shows up tomorrow ready to try again. Because the greatest stunt Jackie Chan ever pulled wasn't jumping off a building or fighting 10 men at once, it was refusing to stay down.